So now that we've covered the basics and we've given you guys a brief overview or a walkthrough of the space and what's gotten done already, let's give you a more detailed idea of how this played out. So I'm gonna get repetitive over the course of these videos, and the reason is because of the protocols. Protocols are very important. What they do is ensure that we, the wire ninjas, are able to provide a quality install no matter what house, no matter what state we're in, no matter who's on the crew. So protocols, we've covered some of them before. Like I said, we're going to go over some again. The first one being is that initially when you get on site, the most important thing you could do is make a plan. And part of what that means is you have to walk through with the homeowner. If it's you yourself, the homeowner, you should be making your own plan. Plan, then execute. Don't just jump into a job. The results, the install, the cleanliness, everything is going to come out much better is if you have a plan and you stick to that plan, execute on the plan. There's going to be hiccups along the way. Nothing or nobody is perfect. You are going to have some fun in some particular situations, but hey man, that's install, you know. When I started my career, I was in a much different setting, in the automotive setting, and things were a lot harder in a lot of ways, and I've gone through hundreds of hours of frustration in diagnosing, troubleshooting way more advanced circuits than we deal with in the AV field. And so I guess that led me to the point where I'm not easily frustrated, and I learned to plan and execute in a much better sense or fashion. I apologize if I can't articulate to perfection. Like I said, nobody's perfect. I try my best for you guys. So, I'm going to go over what the plan was. So initially, the plan should be, any type of circuits you're building, you want to establish the origin and destination of each circuit. That is step one. No matter what site I'm on, we have to establish origin and destination. What that means is each speaker, each volume control, each amplifier. So basically, each device is going to be either an origin or destination for any circuit path. So we started in here with the amp, and what we established was we're going to keep the equipment here. That allows me to know that we can make our cutout here, and this is going to be the origin for all the wiring. Now you can consider the rest destinations or IMFs, like intermediate points, but we know that we're keeping the equipment here, so we know that we can cut a gang there. And this is going to be our entry or exit, depending on which way the wire is flowing or how we're running it. We're going to start with this location, the amp location. Now we'll take a look at all the destinations for the wires. The destinations being each and every speaker. So, one destination was the subwoofer. Another one, the TV. We need an optical cable there. The next one being this on-wall speaker. This speaker as well. We have a subwoofer there. These are all destinations for our circuits. Audio, audio, audio. Yeah, pretty much all audio at this site. Another one there. Then we take a look down. We have your rock speaker there. And then we have your other rock speaker in the corner there, as well as the two in the other beds. One in the corner back there and one in the corner here. So step one is you establish origin and destination of all circuits being built. Those are your two speakers, destination, destination. Now, with that being said, you can decide, you can actually move forward and say, how am I gonna do this thing? How is it gonna play out? How am I gonna run these wires? And the way I like to do it is, for example, these rock speakers, we know how we're gonna get to them for the most part. Couple options there with the landscaping. Number one, you can literally trench the whole way, make a cut, kind of like a drywall cut, all the way through the grass, trench it low, at least 8 inches, so you could bury your wire. Number two, and this would be the much better option, is to have conduits pre-run in the ground. You see this pipe? This is a conduit. The other end of the pipe is right here. Whew. The other end of the pipe is right here. So before you have all the landscape, the stone, all this stuff graded and put down, it's best to run conduits in the ground. It'd be ideal to run them to each location of priority or designation, as like where you're gonna put stuff, whether it's landscape lighting or audio. It's best to have conduits in the ground. This is the best option possible. Now, there can be issues. Depending on who runs your conduit, it may or may not be useful, because as you can see, there's no wire coming out here. However, this speaker's wired in. So, this goes with anything. You really get what you pay for. You really should have scrutiny. You should have scrutiny and decide really who's the best person to do the job. They may not be the cheapest person, but it really should matter to you the end result. That's really what you're looking for, is you want good results. You want a good working system. You want integrity with anything being built in your home, whether it's plumbing, HVAC, electrical, low voltage, whatever it is. Find the best person to do the job. If you undercut yourself, or you undercut them, or you don't find the best person to do the job, or you find the cheapest guy, most likely what's going to happen is the end result is not going to be great. I see this every day on site. We clean up a lot of messes, whether it's, you know, an entire, I mean, I can't tell you guys how many homes I've been to where the entire network, whether it coax, audio, video, data, I mean, like hundreds of wires are destroyed or are left in like just a disastrous situation. And it's very expensive to rectify that. Man, I've seen some bad stuff, and unfortunately, that's a matter of decision. You know, you have to pick the right guys to do the job. And again, we have an example of that here, where this conduit was run, and this conduit's compromised. So we stuck our snake to start pulling wire through. The snake came out all wet. Not only that, the snake stops. The snake stops right around here. We tried both sides. We tried it several times. This conduit's compromised. We cannot get wires through this conduit. So this person was paid to do this job. He did it not to professional standards, and the outcome is you have something that's totally useless. So honestly, it was a waste of money and a waste of time for everyone all around. Not only that, it now costs the homeowner more for us to run the wire all the way around the yard. So we had to run the wire the entirety of this massive yard all the way back to this speaker, that speaker, and the one all the way back there. So I mean, we killed about a whole box of audio cable, which the outdoor audio cable is not cheap, just hitting these 3 speakers because of the size of the yard and because this conduit was compromised. Now, fortunately, we have another conduit that we used which wasn't compromised. So there's a conduit running from here to here. And we use this for, what was it for? Yeah. We used this for the 4 audio circuits, which was cool. It got us under the stone. Mainly it gets you under the stone, which is great. We could have trenched the whole way. I mean, we would have added a few days. Like if both these conduits were compromised, we would have added a few days to this job that would be totally unnecessary. I'm not gonna lie. So as soon as I saw the conduits and the way they were run, I told the homeowner, I said, I'm not gonna make assumptions. I like to work in absolution, and most likely these conduits, I can't trust them. And unfortunately, I was right about one of them. We made do with the one conduit we had. But the reason I'm showing this to you guys is because I want to be real with you guys. I want to be realistic. I want to be honest. I want to show you guys what it's like day to day on site. You know, I could make a polished, produced, fluff, you know, nonsense video, but that's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help me, and I wouldn't feel right doing that, you know. But it's not going to help you guys, because you actually need to know what's going on. You know, you as the homeowner should have this information. This, you know, I'm trying to empower you guys to make better decisions, to do better for yourselves, your budget, you know, even the install team that's working on your stuff. I'm hoping to help everybody in this process, to give you guys a better understanding of how things play out, you know, the good and the bad. And if we can all work together to create better situations, you know, not only for the homeowner, lower the budget, but for the install team, make it not a nightmare for them to work. Because, dude, this is a hard field. It's not an easy field. It has a lot of challenges, not only on site in the day-to-day, but the client interactions, you know, communicating the value to this stuff, to, you know, communicate what it actually takes to get some of this stuff done. And that's another part of this. But all in all, or for the most part, it just comes down to honesty and integrity. I'm just trying to expose myself for the benefit of everyone else, you know what I'm saying? And I hope you can appreciate that. So I'm gonna show you everything, good and bad, how it plays out, and let's keep it moving. So we started with the origin destination. We decided where everything's gonna go, and then we decided we're gonna build circuits back. And when it comes down to logistics in a day-to-day fashion, it's really nice to get stuff done. You know, when you finish a day and you actually achieved what you wanted to, it feels like a much better day. Just for us, for the crew personally. Obviously, we're gonna get it done in the time frame allotted. But from a crew perspective, it's nice to get stuff done. You know, set goals that you can accomplish within the day, and then accomplish those goals. You go home feeling great. You go to the gym, you know, feeling great. You see your buddies and stuff like that. Everything's, you know, it just feels much better. So after the origin and destination were decided for everything, we went ahead and wall mounted the speaker brackets. And when you wall mount the speaker brackets, you know where the wire can shoot into the wall. Same thing too, we decided where all the rocks are gonna go. And then the last piece of that was we actually put the volume controls up. And we decided that we'd put the volume controls up, and we would kind of use these to split the workload here for ourselves. So when you have volume controls, they intersect the audio circuit or intercept it at both ends. So volume controls need to go to the speaker, but also back to the amp. So it's double the amount of circuits. As opposed to going straight from the amp to each speaker, we have to go bridge, you know, at the volume control. So amp that way, speakers that way. So with this being said, we decided that we would get all the speakers in place and we would wire back to the volume controls and leave the next day to do all the amp wiring. It's just how it played out. It's just how we decided to do it. You could go one way or the other. It doesn't matter, but what I wouldn't do is just start running a bunch of wires each and everywhere. You have to have some structure, some organization. Otherwise, you're gonna be frustrated and overwhelmed, honestly. So we trenched out where we needed to, back to each speaker location. Once you know the location, the install team can start doing what they do, which is clear the wire path, whether that's trenching or putting in staples so that we could tag these wires along the way, tack them on. But regardless, you get it going in such a manner that everyone on site can begin work together, and get this done in a more efficient process. So we started with the furthest runs, which are those rock speakers back there, the one all the way back there, and then this one. I'll take you through each and every speaker. Hopefully this battery doesn't die. These cameras destroy batteries, not very efficient devices. So check it out. From this speaker we trenched through the mulch. This was easy. This is soft ground. Some outdoor audio circuits can be very difficult to deal with. Some areas can be difficult to deal with too. This is all rocks. So this is all debris. I know the landscape company, they basically lined this whole thing with all the debris that they pulled from grading this place. So what we did here was, when it's in a rock bed, you don't want to bury, like, there's way too many rocks here to bury it under the rocks. The rocks are going to chop and kill and cut our wires and hurt the longevity of this install. So for these particular areas, what we did was just run the wire over the rocks, cover it with little grass beds. It hides the wire. It also keeps the integrity of the wire and the longevity. It ensures the wire is going to last a long time. You see our little... This is the right solution for this area. To bury this wire in this bed of rocks would be extremely time consuming, and it would really put the wire at a lot of risk. So we didn't want that. You see, this whole thing is rocks. I already know how this played out with the landscape crew because I used to be a landscaper. I've done a lot of tricks, or a lot of trees, let's say. But it's good because it's all fed me the knowledge to put this all together and provide a good service for you guys. Same thing, so here, you don't want to really tuck it. We could have pulled these rocks, tucked them in between, but it's going to be pinching and crushing our wire the whole time. Take a look at the grass. We literally hand-picked and hand-packed the grass in to hide the wire. Now, no one's ever going to see it back here, but we'd like to do anything we can in our possible power to make this install, or to add as much value we can to any job. So here again, we're in the mulch bed. We trenched this all out. And we went deep in these mulch beds because the ground's real soft, so we went about 12 inches. We trenched that out, worked our way back. We're literally following the wire this whole way. We ran it behind the trees on purpose. We know that there's going to be a lot of gardening or landscaping that happens in front of these trees and between them. There's things going to be planted. There's going to be shovels. They're going to shoot their shovels through. That way they can plant stuff there, little flowers. So with that in mind, we decided to traverse behind these taller shrubs. Same thing, I'm covered in spider webs. So we trenched that way, and then we got into the fern bed here. Let me hop down in a safe manner. Okay, so the wire comes down there. You can see them. They shoot down right there, and then they feed into this tube. They go all the way here, feed into the tube. So that's all the rock speakers. The way the wires, or the way the circuits played out. We showed you the entire wire path. And then from that conduit, we came out of this conduit. Now there's something I want to note here. So when you're standing here in the beer pong area, you can see everything. This is the reason why we decided to tuck the wires under this little awning, the front part of that awning. We tucked the wires back there because anything on this back wall you can see. At first glance, you're like, all right, I'll run the wires, you know, along here. We'll have a nice straight path. But from down there, you can see all this stuff. So from the conduit, we ran under the rocks. We came up. And for this one, what we did was we used Romex staples and zip ties. You throw your Romex staple in, Romex staple, and you zip tie the circuits to them. It's really strong, it'll last forever. It's not the prettiest thing, but it's really all you need. Let me get some light on for you guys. You see this? Romex staple zip tie. Romex staple zip tie. There's many types of wiring solutions. Velcro is nice, but because this is outdoor, it's a little bit rugged. I wanted something that really is robust. Then we went up and over. Followed this path. I didn't want to shoot this beam. This is a structural beam. It didn't make sense to shoot through it unless, like, you don't do this unless you absolutely have to, or you find another path. This was the other path. And look what Steve did. I like this, Steve. Good, bro. Look at this. So he created like a little, with 2 zip ties, he put 2 Romex staples. This is him learning in the field by his own. I did not instruct him to do this, which is excellent. In your own path of installation, I call this toolmanship, and I mentioned it before. And it's the ability to use your tools in such a fashion to create solutions on the spot that solutions that are desired on the spot, not normally met or not normally encountered. So that's what happened to him. A little bit of evolution for him here. And we continue the wire path. And these are all our rock speakers. They're looped and ready to go, ready to get connected to the volume controls. Again, we broke this down by logistical fashion. We decided, let's get all the speakers wired in. Oh yeah, these are 2 of our other ones. We decided, let's get all our speakers wired in, and then we'll work on the equipment side of things. So for these, I got the brackets up, and then I shot my wire down. You can see, try to get up there for you guys. You can see the wire shooting right through the bracket. So you see how that wire shoots through the bracket? It's nice to have your brackets up in place, and then what I like to do is draw that little cutout on the bracket, and then you can pull your bracket off. You know the working space that your wire has to travel through. That's a nice little tip for you guys. So you throw your bracket up, you know where your speaker's going, you draw your little cutout, which is that little hole up there, and then you can shoot your wire through. So the same thing happened for all the 3 on-wall speakers. Bracket goes up, you draw your cutout, you make your cutout, and you send your wire down. Now, we showed you guys all the runs that happened at the deck side. Let's take a look at where they come out. Now, honestly, outdoor audio can be a real pain, and one of the reasons that is because the siding. Especially this is nice siding, man. It's nicer, but it's a real pain in the ass to deal with. Why? Because it's so rigid, it doesn't like to bend, and it can't easily be disassembled. All we need is this lower portion off, but this can't come off unless we take off a lot more of the siding, so we kind of have to work with it in this fashion. This is going to be one of the hardest parts of the outdoor installation. Now, we use these coax coax little tie downs to get like basically like a nice little network over here, to a tie down network, and then we could secure all these to each other. The problem is you can't make one fat bundle. You have to leave it flat, so that's what we're trying to do, is leave it nice and flat. That way the siding can go back up. It's a much different situation with the side, this flat up against each other, and you create a ribbon of wire as opposed to just bundling them all into a fat knot. This siding will never go back up. And one thing I will note, all siding is different, and this one underhooks onto this piece of metal. So that's how this siding comes off. Siding in itself is a whole separate video on the removal, the working with the siding. It's a real hassle. A lot of it takes on-site experience to deal with, and I'm not gonna lie, it's such a pain. You might want to call somebody just to do it. But hey, if you have the regular, more typical vinyl siding, that's much easier to work with than this stuff. This stuff is nice, but it really is the hell to work with as far as building circuits in the walls. So the rest of our circuits came back here and shot up through there. Now, the lower portion of the siding is not too bad, other than the fact that you have to get all your little points secured so you can tie into those points. But to make runs like this, like even a run from here back to this where our gang is, I mean, it took like 20 minutes to get a snake through here without cutting into the insulation, and with being able to pull the snake out. I mean, very difficult wire runs in the siding here. So we showed you all the speakers, their locations, how the install played out as far as the circuits go. We're gonna finish building all our circuits, and once that's done, we can focus on the equipment. That means volume controls and the amplifiers themselves. We're gonna tie everything in at the volume controls, and then we're gonna tie everything at the amp. It's just the way this stuff plays out. There is no particular order, but if you stick to my little protocol of establishing origin and destination, you will be a lot more successful, you will be a lot more efficient, because everyone on site can know what's going on within an immediate, how do you say, glance. So normally, for every endpoint, I put a piece of blue tape and I write little notes on it. So for this one, I put match the height of the wind, you know, I put speaker here, match height of the windows, and close off to the gutter. For this one, I put a piece of blue tape and said, you know, match height of the windows and center between the two windows. So anybody on staff can come and get this speaker mounted up and start running that wire. That's what I mean about efficiency. Simple, look at this. This is my blue tape and marker. This is a big part of what I do on site, is working out with the homeowner exactly where everything's gonna go, whether it's a data port on the wall, a speaker on the wall, whatever it is, a little blue tape and a marker can go a long, long way. Alright guys, so we're near completion on this outdoor audio installation, so I wanted to walk you through the equipment side of things as well. We purposely left everything exposed for you guys. This hasn't been wired up in a professional manner. We left everything out so you guys can take a look at it before we go ahead and do so. So this is your audio source amplifier. It carries 6 zones, 12 channels. Now each of the speakers got wired in here. And then you have 2 little mini amps. These are for the subwoofers. Like I said, that was an addition later in time. So all the wiring emanates from this port, and then it shoots in and out to our respective little devices. Now all the speakers got wired to this amp, right? And for source device, we use the Sonos port. The Sonos port outputs to these Y adapters. So we have double Ys on here. One to split the signal once, so that we could feed the Sonos port signal to this amp. Another split right here so that we could feed to these 2 respective amps. We're splitting to 3 amps, so we need to split it twice, you know, add on, you know, basically adding on 2 sets of cables for these 2 amps. So that's the Y adapters. You can, bus input 1 is your Sonos, bus input 2 is going to be TV audio. So let's take a look at the TV audio. That is this cable, bus input 2. This cable runs back to an Insignia converter. The Sunbright TV only has optical out, so we're taking optical in and we're sending audio out to the equipment. I think we're gonna have to adapt this as well to the subs. Jeez, it's gonna get crazy with the Y adapters, but anyways. So all the audio comes in from the 2 source devices, gets distributed amongst the amps, and the audio goes out to all the speakers. Very simple setup here, nothing too crazy. We're still waiting on a power solution. We'll get the power solution in here, we'll get this all wired up. But we checked, the system's up, running, working. Let's go over some of the stuff that you should do near the end of the install. Number one, I'm not pulling this plate off, but behind this plate, this is our main channel. So we have a fairly large hole back there, probably a 2-inch hole supporting all the wires. We like to seal our holes, so we sealed that with expandable foam that can actually expand, fill, and seal the hole. Very important. For any out or external, wall penetration, you have to seal your holes. You don't want water coming into the home. You don't want to create damage or anything like that. Water can be really bad in this respect. So we have the amp wired in. Everything's getting tested. We still have to run the SPL to meter out the levels on the gains for that amp. But aside from that, the project's finished, up, running, working. We put the siding back. We restored it to its original state. Like I said, it's a whole separate video on peeling siding apart and dealing with that. Again, this one was very tough to deal with, this siding. That's something you want to take into account when you're doing the install, or if you're selling an install and performing the work. There's a silicone filled for the optical cable. So you could do a low voltage gang here, but then you're dealing with a lot of sealing to do. You only run in one wire. Just make a small hole. That way you know it's going to be sealed in the end. It's nice and easy. What I like to do is stick the silicone in, inject it so you fill the inside, and then run it on the outside too. We put this wall back together. It's all nice and flush now. Check that out. That's a speaker. You can see it's sealed up there. Nice silicone. We also cleaned up a coax. There's a coax here that shouldn't have been here. It was just hanging down. Really unsightly stuff. We finished the volume controls. I don't think you guys saw the volume control modules. So these are our volume control modules. Everything's wired in. Have little mini drip loops for each one of them. I wired these in, and I like to tie them so that all the connections are facing up, so then water comes down. It literally can't even go inside the connector. It hits this top cap, travels down the drip loop, can drip down. Wire coming in, drip loop down. Same thing, wire coming in, there's a little drip loop here. These are our little service loops. The last piece here is to get these labeled. We're going to have the homeowner come out and we're going to run each one. And we're going to ask him what he prefers to label each one of these. That way it is most, let's say he can get the best functionality out of them. I don't know, I think that's it. I'm just tired, honestly. I apologize. I'm just exhausted. But, yeah, that's a wrap, dude, right? I don't know what to do anymore. I'm just done. I'm done. I'm too tired. Alright buddies, that's going to be a wrap here in New Providence, New Jersey, where we performed an outdoor audio installation. We showed you the ins and outs of outdoor audio. We showed you how we attack this thing, starting with the origin destination of each circuit, and we start building our wires between the circuits. The last steps were, wiring in those volume controls, as well as the source device and the amplifier to drive all the speakers. We showed you how that played out. We gave you tips along the way, such as, dealing with the siding can be very tough. Siding, I don't know what to say about siding, dude. Just get in there and give it a go, and you're gonna lose all your fingertips. Will be gone, most definitely. All your fingertips will be gone. They do make special tools for it. I'm kind of rugged, I just go for it. I pull it off with no damage, and well, aside from my fingertips, no damage to the home. You may want to look into some specialty tools if you're going to be dealing with siding, especially on a long run like this. We had about 30 feet of siding to deal with. A couple things to note. As far as options for running wires outside, you can go through the ground, you can go through conduit. That's probably the best way to do it, or you can go through the siding. Some of you guys are going to have siding that you actually can't peel back and can't deal with, so you're going to have to look into another solution. This particular home, we got through the ground for some of the rock speakers, and we got through the siding for most of our main wire runs. And then we traveled under a deck as well. But I showed you guys each of the wire runs. I followed the wire path for you guys. You can see the exact path we took and why. I showed you some circumstances that happened, in between the job itself. And that's about it. I think that's a wrap. I try to show you guys as much as I can. Every day is different, every site is different, and we try to spend as much time as we possibly can on this stuff, so we hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Just cruising through the neighborhood. On to the next one.